Okay, so I recently played and earned the Platinum Trophy in Hotline Miami, a game that came out quite some time back on the PS3, Vita and PlayStation 4. And I thought I'd share my experiences of playing the game and earning the Platinum Trophy. Now I'm going to be honest with you straight off the bat, I didn't have a great time playing this game, and usually I tend to only review games that I have some positive things to say about, but to be honest, this game was recommended to me by a few people, quite a few close friends, and you, and I just didn't have a great time playing it, and I want to kind of break down my opinions on the game ever so quickly because I don't want to bash on it too much, because I think there's some good stuff here as well. It's just, for me, this is a thing, it's my review, it's games I enjoy, and I think it's harsh to be like, oh, I didn't like a game, I'm going to give it a negative review because I didn't actually enjoy the style of game, because that seems really unfair because I should have known that going into it. So let's start with the game style. So the game style is like an 80s kind of Miami arcade kind of game, and it looks really cool. I have to say, the art design is really cool, it's really fresh. You wear these masks which give you different abilities, and the game is really gory. The whole style is kind of like you're a gangster in Miami and you kind of just go around killing people in all these ridiculous ways. Guns, throwing weapons, all these brutal executions. For being such an arcade game, it can be pretty graphic, and I think the art style is really cool. The music is god-awful. There's only about like 30 seconds of music, and it just replays over and over and over and over again, and when you're replaying levels all the time, it makes you literally want to blow your brains out. So I had to actually turn off the music for a game, and you know when you're turning off the music for a game that it is grim. And so yeah, that was the first part. I think after about 2 hours I was like, nah, turn this off. I've just had way too much of this stuff. So the gameplay is kind of like the idea that one hit kills everything. You get hit, you're done. I think you can kind of take like 2 bullets from a distance, but pretty much one melee, you're down. You can down enemies, you can execute them on the floor, you can kill them with throwing weapons. It's a very, very fast-paced game. There's so much going on all the time, and you will die a lot, and you die and you restart and you jump in and you learn the levels. And I actually enjoy this loop of being like, okay, this person beat me, I need to make sure I watch for them, use a different weapon, throw a certain weapon, shoot them. It's quite a complicated game for being so straightforward looking, and I think it's definitely not maybe that complicated for just finishing the game, but when you want to get to the high scores, which I'll get to later on, it is really complicated. It involves so much thought process, so much repetition, which is not a bad thing. The gameplay's okay, I found. I did think that it was... See, this is the thing I have, guys. I played some harder games. I played like recently Bloodborne, Elite Fireteam, Remnant from the Ashes. Hades was quite a challenge, and I have no problem with a game being difficult and me dying because I've made mistakes, because I'm not good enough to do a level. I have no problem with that at all. What I have a problem with is when the game mechanics are flawed quite significantly, so they feel like they always are hampered. You're always shackled by the game controls or how the game is built, and it's just built either unfair or just unpolished. And I think that is the problem with Hotline Miami, is because the enemies, it's one shot kill and you run around corners, the enemies have like instant lock on, so it's kind of an idea that you have to shoot them before they shoot you, so they give you an auto lock. So basically the enemies can auto lock on you and you can auto lock on them, but the problem with that is the enemies only have one character to auto lock on. It's always just you, whereas you'll be turning a character a corner and there might be 4 enemies and it'll just auto lock randomly on any villain, any character, or it'll auto lock on characters who are through walls so you couldn't shoot them anyway. So it's really frustrating, especially on the harder levels, when you're being really penalized because the auto lock doesn't work. And really, yeah, you could free aim, and you know, if you were good enough you could do that, and I could do it at times, but it was just so difficult because the controller is so sensitive to the direction changes, and you got to be so pinpoint accurate, especially with single fire rifles like pistols and machine guns, that it wasn't a great way to make it through the levels. And I did earn the Platinum Trophy using the auto lock. It's just that a lot of the time it is really frustrating, and it's okay for the main game if you're just playing through the game having a good time, but when you're actually trying to get the Platinum Trophy at the end, it can be really frustrating. Now I want to give an overall score, and I feel like it's really hard to give this type of game an overall score, because usually when someone gives you a game a score of 10, you're comparing all games across the same medium, across the same standard. So I'm basically saying, if this game was a 10 out of 10, it'd be the same as Red Dead Redemption 2, or if it was a 7, it'd be the same as like an Assassin's Creed game. I think it's really hard to rate this game because it was made on such quite a small budget, and I think the ideas are really cool. I just think it's really unpolished, and I probably would give it, like, to the average person, a 7 out of 10. If you like the style of game, you like an over-the-top shooter which is fast-paced, you're going to enjoy this game. I personally didn't enjoy it too much, but I can see that the ideas were pretty good behind it. The artwork's great. the gameplay needed to be refined, but the actual ideas of the gameplay is quite rewarding. So yeah, I think a 7 out of 10 for this game is pretty fair considering I didn't enjoy it too much. Now the Platinum Trophy, just to quickly touch on that, there isn't a great deal here. If you're good, you can do this game in 10 hours. It took me like 25 because, well, you know, I ain't that good at games. You got to do some collectibles, you got to get all the masks, get all these like little letters for a puzzle at the end of the game. There's a few like post-end like endings you can do, which all in all will take you probably like 8 to 10 hours depending on how good you are. You spend this time kind of getting good at the game, and the next part of the trophy list is, there's a few little things which I don't want to mention, but one is for getting a kill with every melee weapon, every ranged weapon, every throwing weapon, and then get an execution. Start a ground execution with every weapon you can as well. And there's no inline track, there's no in-game tracker for this, which I found really difficult, so I actually had to make an Excel spreadsheet with basically ticking off which game I had and hadn't done. So like, if it involves a little bit of work, this Platinum Trophy, it kind of like, I haven't done that for a game ever before, and I had to actually make this spreadsheet because there's like 20 melee weapons, there's 15 or maybe like 10 range weapons, there's 10 throwing weapons, and you can do certain ground kills with some throwing weapons and not with others, and it's kind of like, oh, there's just, all in all, it's like 35 weapons which you don't have a tracker for, so you can either just hope for the best, which will be really frustrating because you're not too sure, or you can kind of do what I did, which was use an Excel spreadsheet and try and find the weapons and stuff, and it was okay, but that still took me about 5 hours, so we're probably at about 13-14 hours so far. And the final thing, that doesn't sound too difficult. If that was the whole trophy list, the game would only be a 4 out of 10, because the mechanics, some of the levels are still pretty challenging, so I think a 4, actually maybe a 5. It isn't easy, but it's just quite short. The final part is the high scores. So you have to get an A+ on every single level, and to do this you basically have to, there's loads of ways you can do it, but it's all about high score. So you have to like basically chain weapons, use different weapons, get combos, go efficiently, go fast, get through corners, use different weapons all the time for your variations. There's so much to do there. It just takes a little bit of practice, but I found that actually, well, by the time I had A+ the first 6 or 7 levels, I developed, my ability was good enough to do the rest of the game. So you might get stuck on a few random levels, and I would just say, just do a few. If you're going to go for this platinum, just do a few you think you can get an A+ at, because the easier ones, by the time you finish the easier ones, you'll be good enough to do the hard ones, because I think it's chapter 10 and chapter 13 are really challenging, because one's got like 30 enemies in one small area, and another one is a police station, which is just insanely difficult. But by the time I got to those, it actually wasn't that bad. I would give the Platinum Trophy a 6 out of 10. I think it's really challenging. It is tough, and it takes a lot of patience. It took me about 25 hours. But again, you get frustrated just purely because the controls can be really frustrating, and you get so far in the level and you have to start again, and that's okay with me. I'm not too impatient, but I just found that the skill involved to actually do the level and to understand it, to move fast, you really do have to master the game. You actually do have to get good, which I did, just saying for the record. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I don't think I would, but if it looks good to you, if you think it looks like your type of game, then it probably will be, but if you're not on the fence, I would just say no. Don't do it. And that's all for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you'd like to support me, don't forget to check out my Discord and my Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.